Good morning, everyone. This is Becca from Willow Hill Designs, and today I am sharing my progress on the Roxy's Journal of Stitchery down the garden path. And the prompt for these 2 weeks has been flower pots. And before I show you my flower pots, I just thought I would mention that because I only had about 12 inches left on my roll, there's only 12 inches left, and I think we have about 7 more prompts. I knew I had to add to that, so I just cut another piece of fabric here, and this is fabric by McKenna Ryan, and just tried to sort of match up the pattern a little bit. So what I will do here is just a running stitch and add this piece on. My original roll is 36 inches, and the piece that I'm adding is 16.5, so that should give me about 52 inches for so 12 and 16, so about 28 more inches for the next 7 prompts, and I hope that that will do it. But anyway, here, because of that, because I had to add to my roll, I was going to try to squeeze flower pots in somewhere earlier in the roll back, and then I decided I'll just, as long as I have to add to my roll, I may as well put these elements in that I've wanted to put in for a while. And one of them was this little clump of birch trees here, and another was this swan that I wanted to add. I thought I would make a little area for Miss Lucy to come and sit and relax in the cool of the day. And so I decided to pull these elements out just because I did have to add on. And I pulled them from my little box here of little elements that I've snipped out of fabric to add possibly. I have little things like blueberries, and these little elements like this little sort of greenery with flowers, they really add so much to it. So I've snipped out little pieces like that, and maybe putting in some petunias might be pretty somewhere. All these little elements that I have snipped and saved. Another one is Squirrel Nutkin. I think he'll make an appearance somewhere down my path. And then there's this little bunny. And these are all prepared with fusible interfacing on them, just so that they don't fray terribly. I know that there are some elements we don't mind if they fray, like this. I don't mind if those hydrangeas are fraying, but certain elements I want to keep so that you can tell what they are. And I just back them with fusible interfacing and go around the edges with a little bit of fray check. Now this little squirrel I wanted to definitely include in here, and I was going to put her here, and I wasn't sure, and I said, oh, I'll just save her for maybe further down the path, so she may appear somewhere on here. But this is my little box that I save, have cut all different little things out that I might use. Here's a leaf that might be hanging down from the upper story of growth. Just little pieces, bits here and there that I thought I may add. This is another one, a dogwood flower that I thought would be pretty hanging down at some point. So those are in my little box that I save. So out of that little box came this swan and the birch trees. I'll put it on here so it's a little bit easier. And so what I did was I stitched down the greenery. That was this greenery was added, and these flowers, and this greenery I added and then I stitched down the swan with invisible stitching, and then the trees, and this clump of greenery also with some flowers. And once I got the base set up for this little area, I decided to go in and put my embroidery elements in my pots. So I added a pot on the ground right near where the swan, in this little pond where the swan comes and swims. And I just used a stem stitch here and some little, I made just little straight stitches for some, I guess, little star flowers of some sort. And in all of this, most of this, I used one strand of embroidery floss just because it's such a tiny little area that too chunky would look strange. I also added some ribbon embroidery here, and some grasses around the pond. And I added some cattails also around the pond. And they consist of one strand of embroidery floss in a bullion stitch, and then just outline stitches or stem stitches for the stalks on those. This pot is also an outline stitch or a stem stitch, and then just satin stitching around the rim of this pot. And up here, this is also going vertically, this time stem stitch for a little pot, and I just added sort of a profusion of some sort of flower, maybe petunias. I know I buy pots of flowers in the summer for my deck that have all different flowers in them, so I just kind of thought I'd do a mixture of flowers there. And then this pot up here is also done with a stem stitch in single thread, one thread of embroidery floss, and an outline stitch, stem stitch for the hanging portion, hanging from the trees. And then I think I did 2 strands for this vine, and lazy daisy stitches for the leaves, and just some messy French knots on there. Though that is 1 strand, but I think these are 2 strands. And same thing here, 1 strand of the embroidery floss for the hanging portion of the pot. And so I thought I would just create this little area for Miss Lucy to come down, a little shaded area for her to come down when she's walking down her garden path. Excuse me, so I added these 3 pots, and there are also 3 pots in the little potting shed or garden shed. I chose to use a teacup. Oh my goodness, the words are not coming today. A teacup on its side as her garden shed or potting shed. And these flowers that I added down here near this pond are the same flowers that are up here. And I just did some embroidery stitches on those just to sort of emphasize those a little bit and bring them out. And I had added a few more French knots on this vine here around the potting shed. And so that is so far where I am, and I'm finished early. The new prompt doesn't come out until Wednesday, so that's nice. That gives me some more time to work on this kind of a slow stitching project underneath, which is sort of my backdrop when I film these videos. And I'm just adding some elements here, some lace, and some portions of doilies, little pieces of doilies to this. I haven't really had time to work much on this because I've been working on my roll for Roxy's Garden of Down the Garden Path Roxy's Journal of Stitchery. But I did get some laces that I'd like to add either in Down the Garden Path or on this slow stitching project. And just some really, really beautiful laces here that I've gotten, some with hearts that are really so pretty. That could be maybe a gate somewhere. But also I think it would look pretty on this stitchery somewhere. That could be added. I thought that was very pretty. I did order some laces from South Africa, some gorgeous, gorgeous laces, but they won't be here until the end of the month, so I'll be waiting on those. But I'll share them when they come in. And here's another very pretty lace that I can use on here or in my garden path. It could be a little canopy top for a an outdoor pavilion. That might be pretty. And I got this lace as well. I thought this was very pretty. And this has some pretty elements that can be cut out. It can go on here as well. But it can also go in my Journal of Stitchery. This lace I love. I think this is absolutely beautiful. It's sort of like a Clooney lace. Oh, I just love that. I'd like to put that on my garden path, but I don't know if it's a little bit too large. And this one is very pretty. This is a very delicate, fine little lace that I'll probably put on my garden path. And this one I did use on my garden path because it's so small and fine. It's only about maybe 1/4 of an inch. I don't think it's, maybe 3/8, but it's so pretty. I decided to add that in my garden path. Excuse me. Over here, I added that. I had first put down this little portion of a dresser scarf, and then I added this little piece of lace here. So I am free now to work a little bit more on this project, this slow stitch underneath my garden path. I've been also working on my son and daughter-in-law's quilt that I'm making them, and I have some elements done on that. I have the trees done, the mountains are done. That looks dark, but it's not really a dark fabric for the trees. There's a few trees on this quilt, but I have some of them done. This has been taking up most of my time, truthfully. And some other little tree elements. I'll probably do a video on this quilt. It will be a cabin in the mountains, and I have the mountains done, and I have the grasses and hills in front of it done. I'm pretty satisfied with them, so I'll probably do a little video, maybe series on that, just for people who really like to do pictorial quilts. I'll share some of the ways that I approach it, but I will just give you a little close-up here of my Down the Garden Path. As we will, I guess maybe I don't need that. I can just do it like this. So here is Miss Lucy leaving her little teapot to walk down her garden path to see what's going on. And there's her wildflowers, our first prompt, and a little fairy, and some lily of the valley, some berries hanging up here, and the garden gate, So as she's coming down this path, she can go down her garden into her secret garden through her garden gate. And then she comes down can leave her path and go into her vegetable garden and do some work. And that little scarecrow is not scaring away the little critters from coming in and taking some goodies, because I think this is a little hedgehog, a little woodchuck as we call them here, nibbling on strawberries. And there's some strawberries, that red down there next to the cauliflower. That is her strawberry patch. So he's gathered a few strawberries, and she can come here and work in her little potting shed, pot some flowers or vegetables. And then she comes to this little area, sort of a little shaded area, where she can just sit by the little pond and watch the swan and enjoy her flowers that she has hanging in the tree. I was actually going to put a little blanket down here. I have some checkerboard fabric. It's tiny, tiny checkerboard. And I was going to put this down for a little picnic blanket here, but I thought it might be too crowded. So maybe that'll show up later on in our roll. So this is not easy. So this is my work on the prompt for potted flowers. I've really enjoyed this so far, really enjoying this, and I'm looking forward to the next prompt. Well, thank you very much for joining me today, and I wish you many blessings, and see you in the next video. Bye for now.